Okay, so I'll get straight to the point. Today I'm going to be talking about Stormbreaker. So, effectively, what is Stormbreaker? It's a bomb. It's a bomb that can travel 110 kilometers. It can be fired from standoff range and hit target basically 108 kilometers, 108 kilometers plus, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. It's manufactured by Raytheon at cost for the buyer, which is the military, the US military, of £166,000. It has a mass of 204 pounds and a length of 1.76 meters. Its diameter, however, is 0.15 to 0.18 meters. Yes, I will say that again. Its diameter is 15 to 18 centimeters. And that's why the program is dubbed the Small Diameter Bomb. It has a warhead of 105 pounds, so half its weight is its warhead. It is incredibly slim for a bomb. And as I said at the beginning, it has an operational range of 110 kilometers. So, I don't really know that I have to explain this. Why is this an upgrade on most normal bombs? If we're to look at standoff range is 100 kilometers plus. Until Stormbreaker, nearly entirely, at least for anything that you wanted to actually make a dent in any sort of enemy positions or anything precise, you would have had to employ some sort of a missile. For standoff capability, it would have had to been a cruise missile. Conventional missiles simply wouldn't have the propellant in order to achieve that. So you can see why so many people are excited about Stormbreaker, because it does something that hasn't often been done in history before. It uses this precise, or reasonably precise, small diameter bomb that can travel at standoff ranges. And the way it does this is it utilizes a glide mechanism. It has fins that jut out at the side, like you'd see on the Tomahawk cruise missile. Only for the Stormbreaker, it's on a far smaller scale, because this is a far skinnier piece of equipment. This is a far smaller munition, which gives it a far lower radar cross-section and makes it, even for stuff like CWIS, it's far harder to shoot it down. Any phalanx system is going to have a far tougher day with these sort of small diameter bombs than it is with anything like a Tomahawk or a harpoon missile, because they are so small. And while that may mean they have a smaller warhead than something like Tomahawk, than something like the harpoon missile, what it does mean is you can deploy a lot of them at once from a standoff range and still hit a target in multiple places, creating a hell of a lot of damage. And this, is a reasonably new development. So when I say glide bomb, which is what Stormbreaker is, what will probably come to your mind, or at least what comes to mind, is this sort of glide bomb from World War II. Something dropped out of a Lancaster. And you sort of look at footage of it in black and white, or maybe recoloured, and they open the bomb bay doors and they release as many as humanly possible, because the chances of this actually hitting its target, if hitting anything at all, is very, very slim, because what you're effectively hoping is you're hoping that one of these bombs out of hundreds in a squadron of loads and loads of planes will actually hit some sort of valuable target. And so when you think of glide bomb, you immediately think of something unguided, something imprecise. Stormbreaker is the opposite of that, and that is why, really, a lot of people in the US are very excited about the program. They're very excited about this, bomb which can be deployed from a reasonably high altitude, but then find its target within its range of 110 kilometers. And as I say, you can deploy multiple of these units at once. So it's not as if you're sort of deploying a singular munition for a singular precision strike or a singular anti-ship strike. you can deploy plenty of them at once, which is going to make them incredibly difficult to deal with. So, while it's not a cluster munition, you can have planes which, and they will be air to surface or air to ship launched, which can deploy many of them at once and effectively send them on their way out of harm's way itself and gain data reports back, but strike ships or land or targets in multiple precise places. So this is incredibly important. This is incredibly good. It's an incredibly positive thing. And the reason for that is that you can reduce collateral damage. You can reduce the possibility of danger being close to soldiers. And that's an incredibly important thing. So just to quickly talk about the, well, I guess you'd say what's utilized in regard to technology. So primarily you've got an integrated seeker. So this seeker is, I mean, I think Raytheon even claims that it's the most powerful on the planet. Anyway, what it utilizes is millimeter wave radar, and it sort of detects and tracks targets through weather. And that's another place in which this munition comes into play massively. Something that Raytheon has been very open, very public about, very pleased about, is that this munition can track through anything. It can track through dust kicked up by helicopters. It can track through a lot of stuff. It can track through pretty much any weather condition. Through dust, through rain, through smoke, which is incredibly important. Through darkness, through general poor visibility, through fog. I mean, it really is a very powerful sensor, and that's pretty important. And it also effectively uses this, I guess you'd say, triple whammy of targeting. So as I said, it uses this millimeter wave radar, as well as infrared imaging, as a lot of bombs and missiles do, and the semi-active laser seeker, which, you know, as a lot of bombs and missiles do in their terminal stage, it allows this weapon to track and sort of laser designate pretty much anything you'd want on a surface. And that includes for the rest of the units being deployed. Something else that this seeker is also being touted for is effectively it can relay information very effectively from standoff ranges, which is, you know, hugely important. So not only can it respond to its own effect on the target, but it can create laser designations for other vehicles. It can sort of coordinate between different aircraft and recommend, perhaps not recommend, but give data to multiple in regard to strike capability. And sort of, most importantly, it can provide intelligence. So one doesn't necessarily need a protector or Reaper drone high in the sky looking over the battlefield. If you are in active combat, you can use this to get forward information about your target, which is, again, an incredibly important thing. And, as I've said, what Stormbreaker can also effectively utilize is using far fewer aircraft. It's a small diameter bomb, very small. So, because of its slender nature, its low radar cross-section, it can be deployed, or it can arm at least, the F-35, the F-15 Eagle, with many, 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 many units, which can all be deployed at once, depending on effectively what it is. And that's pretty important because it means fewer planes need to be utilized, more planes can be in maintenance, more planes can be used for other missions, and it effectively means that one's power, what the potency that comes with having a plane, with having any sort of aircraft, is massively increased because it can now carry far more offensive weaponry. So you have effectively just multiplied your power by quite a lot without having to buy a lot more expensive plane units, which is why I think munitions are, you know, incredibly interesting. You can multiply your power very quickly without having to buy very expensive weaponry. Moreover, that's more the information for stationary targets. This weapon can also glide or fly. I mean, Raytheon says fly, but I would probably say glide. Over 45 miles to strike mobile targets, which, while it's not technically a standoff, that's still an enormous range. And for the majority of wars that are going to be fought, for the war fighter, this is going to be an incredibly useful thing, because it means that one doesn't have to rely on going behind enemy lines. It effectively just increases, I guess you'd say, the safety of any strike possible. So that's about it. Incredibly important technology, which employs standoff capabilities which can be reasonably precise and fly in all weather conditions. If only there were one that were better than that had improved capabilities, that could do it in a manner that increased penetrative power, that increased coordination, that was effectively this but had propulsion, and was an upgrade of this in pretty much every way, and was British. Well, we will look at the incoming or oncoming Spear 3 in another video.